it's okay if you miss, a day of filming. It's okay. But just keep going the next day and just keep going at what you're trying to achieve. Because then one day that video that you post out there may change the whole trajectory of your life.
Welcome back to the RV Queens podcast, where we dive into the world of women making money and living life on the road. Today, I'm joined by Val Domnenko, an inspiring content creator, entrepreneur, and mom of two, who's taken RV living to a whole new level. Val's story is a roller coaster, you guys. She has overcome some immense challenges, including bankruptcy, and she's turned her family's life into an adventure of resilience, reinvention, and thriving on the road. In this episode, Val shares how her Ukrainian roots and early journey to the U.S. shaped her mindset. She also discusses her and her husband's wild leap into RV life and how they built a successful content creation business that's captivating audiences across platforms. Plus, we dive into her secrets for balancing self-care, homeschooling, and staying fit while living in a tiny home on wheels. Val's surprising down-to-earth wisdom and go-for-it attitude will leave you inspired to take risks, chase dreams, and live life on your own terms. So grab your coffee and let's roll. Hello, Val, and welcome to the RV Queens podcast. Where in the world are you today?
Today, I'm in Orlando. It is gloomy, rainy, and I'm sure you can understand as well.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
The palm trees are crying. I mean, I think the whole country's in like a polar vortex right now. So I will take like 50 degrees and rainy for sure. Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Over, negative temps. It's crazy. I am super excited to dive into your story. And I usually start off by asking people like how and why they start RVing full time. But honestly, the stories are pretty similar because most of my guests are from the US. And then, at some point they had a big mindset shift about not wanting a traditional American life. So they downsized and they hit the road with their family. And I'm sure you've met a lot of people on the road with that story too. But with you, I'd like to go a little deeper if that's okay, because your life is very unique. First of all, you're from the Ukraine originally. So I got to ask a little bit about that. When did you first come to the US?
When my parents were in Ukraine, it was such a hard life for them and barely getting by in life. So they wanted to come to America and create, more opportunities for their family. So I came when I was 2. I was a baby. So I basically grew up in America, and I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. When I was 17, I met my husband, my first boyfriend. So I moved to Chicago when I got married and was there for 10 years. That is where my kids were born. And then once we decided that one day came along where I was like, all right, it'd be cool to vacation in RV. So it was wild. My husband literally immediately, when I said those words, he took out his laptop and he was just like, let me look for an RV on Facebook Marketplace.
That's crazy. Did your parents speak English? Maybe that's a dumb question, but did you grow up bilingual?
I grew up in a very Russian, Ukrainian household, and we only spoke Russian. So when I went to school, to kindergarten, I didn't know a lick of English. I didn't know what was being said. And I would randomly raise my hand thinking I was understanding what they were saying, but I didn't understand. So I got actually held back there was a grade between kindergarten and first grade. And then I had to learn how to speak English. I was in ESL classes my whole entire elementary school years. So that is, and Sesame Street. Thank God for Sesame Street.
Oh, oh my gosh. That is amazing. I love picking up on accents, and I can kind of pick up a little bit of an accent on you still. And so I was like, she's got to speak something. Is it? Okay. I'm going to just totally show my ignorance here. Do you speak Russian in Ukraine? Okay. I actually had a friend from the Ukraine in high school, but I never asked her what language she grew up with.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's both are official languages of Ukraine, Russian and Ukrainian, depending on where you grew up. So I grew up on like the border of Russia. So that is a lot of Russian speaking people there in Ukraine.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I've been super curious about it. Also, I have to dive into the part that you met Mark and got married at 17. How did you guys meet? And like, how did that conversation go with your family? Like, I'm marrying Mark and we're moving to Chicago.
Growing up, my dad would always be away, just providing for the family. He was always working. Both my parents were just trying to be, the best that they could in providing for their families. So my dad was always away, and I decided that I wanted to, just being outside of that circle, like I wanted to experience life myself, and I wanted to just get out of the house. Honestly, I wanted to get out of the house. And that's when I met Mark. And I was 17, which is wild because I'm a child, basically. I would never allow my kids to get married at 17. 9 months later, we got married. So that was really fast. He was my person and I was his. So it was kind of like perfect.
I actually love like fast relationship stories because me and Drew had one too. And ours was actually 10 months from meeting and starting to date. And then like we got married within a year. We weren't 17, but I just want to like give you props that like, I really do think for some people when it's like what else can I find? This is the one for me. So props to you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was kind of cool because I went to high school while I was married, and my parents were like, "Oh my gosh, you are not getting before getting married." They're like, "What are you doing? You didn't finish school yet. You didn't finish high school. You can't get married." But I was like, you know what? I feel like it's just my time. I don't know. I just felt it in my gut, and it was like intuition telling me like, just go with your gut. Like, this is what you need. And so we had hardships and stuff, but I never look back and be like, oh, I regret that. Like for me in my timeline, it just made sense. And so that's why I decided to just do it. And we both look back. We're like, that's crazy that we did that, but we have no regrets.
So you mentioned that you guys started businesses in Chicago. Everyone knows that comes with like a roller coaster of highs and lows. And on Instagram, you wrote that you guys started off poor, became very rich, and then you hit a low point where you were almost homeless. Will you expand on that story for us?
We started a recycling company, which recycles electronics and all sorts of things that plug into walls, TVs, old monitors and stuff like that. We became really successful really fast. And we had hired like 30 employees and we had, a lot of headaches, obviously, but we were also like raking a lot of money in. One of the business partners, he decided to say, oh, well, I don't want to do this anymore. And kind of, in short, just screwed us over and decided to just leave. And so it was a mess, and we had to go bankrupt for the company there was another company. It was like roofing and restoration stuff. When we became bankrupt, it was like the scariest thing in that moment because we thought we're going to lose our house. We thought we're going to lose everything that we own. We have kids. And so in that moment, then everything just came crashing down. We went from rich to basically nothing. It was actually a blessing in disguise because then once that passed, it was like, oh, this is actually not that bad. Like, it's not that scary. So we had to start from scratch, work our butts off again, and basically redo everything from scratch.
What mindset do you think it took to bounce back from that for you and Mark?
Persistence. Like, you have to keep going and not stop. And just day by day, keep going, take the baby steps and just keep going. Because that's the only thing that you could do is just try to keep going. I mean, props to Mark too, because he was definitely feeling it a lot more. I was more of like a supportive figure. And so he was just really feeling all the emotions at one point. And I'm like, hey, you just got to take it day by day. It's okay.
So did you guys get back into business building, or did you take a time where you were working corporate jobs, or how did your life look?
For a moment, all our family were like, hey, how about you don't do the business thing anymore? And maybe it's not for you, you know? And I was like,
of course.
I do appreciate like the worry and concern, but at the end of the day, I was like, this is just our thing. Like having businesses is, you know, one of the things that we enjoy. And especially Mark, he's like big time entrepreneur. And I love that he's, you know, doing what he's loving in life. It was not easy getting out of that, but I was like, we just have to keep going with having businesses and just trying new things, right?
Okay, so you guys had like this crazy, you know, decade together. You built your life up, it fell down, you rebuilt it up. And then when did the RV travel conversation come up? You mentioned it at the beginning that you had the idea, you told Mark, and he just started like looking up RVs online. What led up to that moment?
Okay, so we just went through like a bankruptcy, and we just had everything basically just, you know, get yanked from us in a way, you know, emotional and just like basically almost like losing everything. So we're like, what's the worst that could happen if we just pivot a little bit and look in an RV? So I decided to mention that idea. Just he was shocked. He was like, wait, what? So you're thinking about doing that? I was like, yeah, why not? So immediately he goes on Facebook Marketplace and looks for an RV. And the first RV that we saw on the Facebook Marketplace is the one that we went to see in person, and basically did not know anything about RVs.
Yeah.
Bought it on a whim. And it was like the best $13,000 that we've ever spent. So it was just, it was kind of like, oh, we just kind of did a thing. But yeah, it was wild.
Okay. So it sounds like you basically were like, hey, it couldn't get any worse. Like, we've already hit rock bottom once. Let's just throw it all out the window and start over. Yeah. Okay. I love that attitude. Let's just try what we want to try, because, you know, if it doesn't work out, we've already faced the worst thing. So we'll just
basically
start over again. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's fast forward to today. You are a mom of 2 kiddos that you homeschool. You're crushing it at running a content creation business. You have hundreds of thousands of followers, millions and millions of views across all platforms. And here's something that I really want to give you kudos for, is that your content across like multiple handles, multiple platforms is so consistent visually. Like your lighting, your color tone, the clothes you wear, the way that the video like moves as you speak to the camera, like it's so cohesive. And as a former like brand, I used to be in design and branding and stuff like that. It makes my heart so happy. So first of all, like massive kudos to you for that. I know it's hard to develop that consistent look and feel. And I really want to ask you, like, tell me about when you started taking content creation seriously. Like, how did you develop that visual brand that you have now?
Well, thank you so much. That's a lot of kind words. I appreciate the love. So we started back when we started like kind of traveling, and we wanted to dabble into like content creation, and TikTok was huge. And after like COVID and stuff, everyone's like, I want to be a TikTok star. So we're like, okay, let's just try it and see where it goes. You know, we already did the RV thing. Like, you know, let's try content creation. Like we're very spontaneous people. And especially me, like, I just don't like planning things. I don't have a plan. I don't really, I don't know. It was just, some people like it irritates them that there is no plan. I'm like, what do you mean there's no plan? And for me personally, I'm like, what do you mean? How do you know what's going to happen? So we decided to dabble into, you know, content creation and just try it out. So once the ball started rolling for RV stuff, and I was like, well, this is kind of fun. And I decided to do another I guess, channel featuring RV tours and stuff like that, I was like, man, this is my jam. Like, I'm really enjoying this and I really like what I do.
So how do you recommend for other up and coming content creators? How do others develop a consistent look and feel that stands out like you have?
Well, I would say just be yourself, just be like who you are. Like, I have always just loved being a little bit more like edgy in fashion, or I do love black. I wear like a black uniform every single day. That's my thing. But add on a few fun pieces like leather shoes or a leather jacket and make it fun. It's always about like a visual perspective of like, how can we make this more fun? Like, how can we make this angle more fun? If you're doing something, how do you make it more interesting? Put in a different angle, wear your hair a little bit different, put on a red lipstick, switch it up a little bit, but be yourself and be genuine.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It seems like I'm just going to assume that Mark is your camera guy and not one of your kids. Am I correct in that?
That'd be really a talent.
Right?
That would be a very big talent of my kids to be like
extra. You never know. You never know.
You never know these days, right? But yes, Mark is my cameraman.
Okay. So tell me about like how that collaboration goes. Do you just enjoy being the talent and he figures out like the angles and the other like just visual approach? Or do you guys kind of both do some work on each side, or how does that work?
I think it's a mesh of both tastes. Like he has the angles and he says, this is going to look amazing, or this. And I say, well, how about we switch it up and do this? Like, what if like my idea is better? Or he comes in and says, what if my idea is better? So it's basically a combination of both worlds of, I come from like an art background. And so when I mesh my art skills in terms of like the angles or how I look, then he says, how do we make it better? So we kind of mesh our ideas together, make it, I guess, magic.
Asking as a content creator, and I know other people will want to know this too, do you like write out scripts for yourself, or is what you're saying like you just think of it and then it just like sounds great?
Usually Mark directs me. So I'm like, what do you want me to say? And I'll say it. Like, he's really good with that creative aspect. I'm more of a visual aspect. I guess a visual creator, and he's more of like the verbal creator. So he'll create the things that I need to say, which helps a lot because I'm like, dude, you got to help me out because I don't know what to say here in this moment.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I'm always like, I could do everything except will someone else just give me the words? It would. It feels like the hardest thing. And even with like posting content online, I'm like, when it comes to the written stuff, the descriptions, the captions, I'm like, I cannot wait for the day when I can hire someone to just do all of this. Or like, I use ChatGPT sometimes. Like, I can't wait for AI to be better at writing this because it's my least favorite thing.
I know it takes time though. It takes time to like write something out. And sometimes you just don't have like the mental capacity to even think of what you need to write. Cause you're just, I created this video and now I have to create this like blog situation under my post. Cause
yeah, totally.
It's like, so much work.
I know. I'm not here to be a blogger, people. Okay. Do you know who Jasmine Star is? I'm sure you do.
That sounds familiar.
Okay. She's one of those like marketing geniuses, like social media marketing. If you look her up, you'll probably recognize her face. But she started out as a photographer and built her brand on Instagram. And now she teaches people how to thrive on social media and stuff like that. But her content is so consistent, like stylistically, even her writing, like she just treats everyone like her best friend. And then she has like these pages long captions. And I always think to myself, like, either your team is on point or somehow you're a unicorn that's really good with visual and written because how are you doing this? It's amazing. So
I know that's hard.
You should look her up. Maybe you find some inspiration.
For sure. I'm down for that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious to hear, at what point did you start monetizing your content?
A couple of years after we started RVing, and, we met so many content creators. They were like, hey, we're making money this way. I was like, wait, what? Hold the phone. So you can make money with brands remotely. You don't have to show up to an office. You don't have to do anything crazy. You just have to make content for these companies. And I was like, all right, sign me up. So immediately I was like, how do I get started? And so I searched like random resources and podcasts and courses that were out there, and really helps to like kind of push toward that and pitch to new companies and just get exposure out there. So at first it started off with obviously just free products, free stuff that were, out there. And over time, just kind of saying, hey, I have X amount of followers and I'm worth this much. So it's funny because you can actually put a price on a content creator, which is the funniest thing. I'm like, well, it makes sense because, you can see like how well their views are and, what kind of engagement and what kind of like people are watching their content. So you can pretty much base off, off of those numbers. So then I was like, yep, let's do it. So that is one of our ways that we make money.
Yeah. And so how many years ago would you say that was? Because you said it was a couple of years into RVing.
Yes. So I would say just a couple of years ago, it started. Just not even like, we weren't even in it probably for a very long time. It was just a couple of years that we started.
Amazing. So what's something, if you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of when you started, really taking content creation seriously, what's something that you wish you could tell yourself?
Well, one of the things I tried to do really was push as much content as possible. And that created burnout. And so in return, I was like, I don't know if I can, pump out as much as I did yesterday. So you're putting that pressure on yourself and you're constantly thinking, hey, like, what are the things that I can make today? And you're kind of, I would tell myself to just slow down. But for others, I would just say, hey, make a consistent amount of videos per week so that you're not like pushing yourself and you're not like forcing yourself to make these videos. So just like, it's okay if you miss, a day of filming, it's okay. But just keep going the next day and just keep going at what you're trying to achieve. Because then one day that video that you post out there may change the whole trajectory of your life.
Have you guys started like batching content, or how did you fight that burnout of like feeling the pressure to create a ton of content?
So we actually took a really long break from social media and we said, hey, let's take care of our mental health first. So we took a long break. It was actually a few months that we took a break. And then slowly, gradually, we like genuinely wanted to create more videos that involved our lives and what we're doing currently. Because when you're genuinely trying to make that content, it will show through your videos. If you're forcing yourself to make those videos come alive and you're like, oh, why am I not getting the views or the likes and stuff? Then obviously that will show like you're burning yourself out and you're not being a happy creator. So for us, it's so vital to be happy, to show the world what we're doing, because we want to show that, but we also create that kind of bookmark for ourselves as well. Because then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Remember this when this happened or that happened, like in our lives, and it's there. So you just have to be genuinely you want to create content. Like you don't want to be forced.
I agree. And I think that shows. I think people can feel it in content, when it's like, oh, you can tell that person's just like hawking whatever brand is like giving them money,
Yep.
You don't connect with them as much as someone that's like, seems really passionate about what they're talking about and excited to show you whatever. It's, like any professional endeavor, I think there's always balance there because clearly you're trying to do a good job. But also like letting your personality shine through. That's what people's.
Hey, that's a word.
That's what people are going to connect with.
Totally. No, yeah, you're totally right. Like you can see and connect with people that are genuine about what they're passionate about. And that's what it came down to is like, we want to show people what our lives are really like. And, if we're passionate about a product or something, like the genuine joy in it, not just like, I have to present this product and you will buy it from me. Like I hate that so much. It just comes very disingenuous.
Okay, Val, because this is a podcast for women by a woman, I have to ask a question that I'm sure burns in every woman's mind when they meet you. Okay, because you clearly take extraordinary care of yourself, from your skin, your hair, your body. You've modeled recently in New York Fashion Week, and you're prepping for a competition. So tell us about your routines and regimens. Like, do you have daily, monthly routines and stuff for taking care of yourself? And how does this work while you travel?
Absolutely. I believe that is so important for women to take care of themselves. And sounds a little selfish, but us as mom, like especially moms that take care of kids and, our families, it is so vital to take care of ourselves, because if we feel good, then we give, that love and attention to others as well. Because when we feel our best, then the others have, our best as well. So once a week, I have like a me day where I just take care of my skin. I take care of my hair. I like wash it, like a full routine of like making sure that everything is like manicured, my nails and stuff like that. And so when I feel so good, like I feel good in that moment, then I'm like refreshed, decompressed, and I feel like I can have a moment to myself and really be in my thoughts and really just think about like, life and what am I doing with my kids, and do I need to tweak something in life more, or my routine and stuff like that. So I think it's so important just to have that moment to ourselves and to really understand like, hey, is everything okay? Like check in with yourself and really just take time to be like, hey, I need to do this, or I need to do that, or focus on what you need to, focus on. So whether it be like, in those moments, I just take time to like think, all right, where do I need to like focus my attention to? And then just channel that, because then it helps to organize my brain a little bit, organize my life. So I think it's super important to just, for us women, to just take your time and have that moment.
It sounds like you like to pair like life reflection and taking care of your body at the same time, which
Absolutely.
I can totally relate with that. Like, yeah, like every time I get a massage, for me, it's a massage, and I'm like laying on the table. It brings up like feelings of like gratitude and ideas, like you said, for whenever you're a homeschooling mom. I don't know if you're like me, but I'm like constantly thinking about like how to tweak things, what the kids might need, fun ideas, stuff like that. Honestly, when else in this lifestyle do you have like a moment of quiet to yourself to like reflect on these things?
Absolutely. You just need a little bit of peace, because we're with our families 24/7. It is hard.
Yes.
People don't realize like you don't get to send your kids off to school, or your husband goes off to work, I mean, just it's in this life, you see them constantly. And for us, like we need just to slow down a little bit, and have that moment of reflection and gratitude and just peace.
You seem super fit. Do you work out like every single day, or multiple hours a day, or like what does that look like for you?
Used to be just in like an hour and a half in the mornings. I would say like 3 to 4 times a week. But now with the competition coming up, I've ramped it up to like 6. Actually, no. Yeah, probably 5 to 6. So like cardio, and then weightlifting as well. So, get your heart working and as well as just lifting weights and getting strong. And that is like my therapy time because I get stressed. I get like overthinking about things. And sometimes you just have to like break it and do something else, like lift some weights, because that will literally immediately stop the overthinking. I'm not thinking about anything in that moment. It's almost kind of like meditation in a way. So I really enjoy that. And so I spend around 1.5 hours to 2 hours at the gym. If a really good day and I'm like, all right, I got, nothing too crazy going on. And if I go early enough in the morning, like 6 a.m., I'm at the gym and that's my time to just decompress, think about life. I guess that me time in a way.
That's good to know. I was going to ask how you fit that into your day with like, homeschooling and content creation and like everything else you guys have going on. So do you just have to find a gym everywhere you go?
So we do have a seasonal, and luckily for the seasonal, it's like the campground is right next to this gym that I'm going to. And
good.
Like with the gym, I'm able to actually go and access any gym I want in the country. Actually, it's worldwide too. So when we travel like around the world or something, there's also a gym.
Yeah, there's a few chains like that. Like I think my husband does, is it Planet Fitness? And he pays, it's like so affordable too. I don't know if that's the one you use, but it's like 25 or 50 a month or something like that. And then he can go to any of them around the country. And it's been, I would say like 60% of the places we've traveled have one, but it, when we're in the area, it makes it like way easier.
Yeah, totally. No, I go to Anytime Fitness, which is like so easy. You have a key fob. So it's like basically you just come in with a key and nobody asks. Like if you have a key fob, then you obviously have access to those gyms. And so I just come in and I'm like, it's open 24/7, which is nice too.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Gonna have to look into that.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool because you could just go anywhere in the country and you just have access to the gym.
Val, this has been so inspiring. And honestly, I've just loved getting to know you better. Before I ask my last question, will you go ahead and share with everyone where they can connect with you online?
So I'm at the travel show, and Val's reviews are exclusively like reviews of RVs, but I showcase like my lifestyle stuff on the travel show.
I want to end today with a couple rounds of 1-on-1 questions where I ask a question and then we both answer it. So don't think too hard on these. It's just the first thing that comes to mind. And I only have 2 questions for you today. So the first one is, what is something about travel life that drives you crazy that not many people know about traveling?
Well, I would say being the Class A, what is extremely hard with privacy. I don't have my own space. And so that is the thing that is driving me nuts because I have kids that are growing up and they're soon to be teenagers. So the more privacy, the better. And so I'm getting a little smidgen of that.
Yeah, mine, I mean, that for sure. We also, we're in a 5th wheel right now, but we only have 1 bathroom. And I'm like, shower time is like so sacred. It's like, this is the only time that I'm completely by myself for like 20 minutes. And then it'll be like, Mom, I had to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a challenging part about living in a little tiny home here. I also we were kind of like you. We didn't know anything about RVs or RVing before we bought one. And I never realized like how bouncy they are. And we have stabilizers and stuff like that. And maybe a Class A is different, but like even when you sleep at night, it's like when someone moves in their bed, like the RV just kind of bounces.
Absolutely.
So,
like we have the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like
I don't enjoy it, and I never. I know, yeah. Or like when the kids go to bed, yeah, I don't even want to walk anywhere because I know they can feel it, like shakes.
I do a little trick in the daytime. I kind of shake the RV like this during the day so it doesn't become suspicious at night. You got to like shake it up a little bit. Like, there's nothing
totally.
suspicious there.
We're just like having a dance party. Yeah, I don't know. Totally. Or like we don't have a washer and dryer in ours, but some people do say that like having one of those running, like literally like shakes the whole camper. So if you ever need a cover.
Yes. We want a washer dryer situation because, it comes to a point. It's like, you got to do laundry every day,
Yeah. Laundry too. Yeah. We don't have laundry in here either. And that's another thing that I was like at the beginning, we've been on the road 2.5 years now. So it's like all of the honeymoon phase is over. And I'm like, really have to go to another laundromat.
This is the worst.
I know. Yes. Okay, Val, my last question is, where are you most excited to travel to in 2025?
We planned something in Colorado. We love Colorado. And we plan to just go out west and see the mountains because it's beautiful and it's so cool. It's different than the East Coast. I don't have a favorite, in terms of like West Coast or East Coast. They both have amazing qualities to them. But the West Coast, if you get to like Utah, it almost feels like Mars and a different planet. So I totally love that. Like I enjoy that for a little bit. And then I'm like, all right, we got to go to the beach. So we take ourselves to Florida and go to the beach.
Yes, totally. We did a big loop out west last year and it was the same thing. I had never been so long in the desert and it felt like a different world out there. So this year we do have a trip to Hawaii planned in June. I've never been to Hawaii.
Oh my God.
And I'm really looking forward to that. So it'll be fun.
That's going to be so awesome. What island?
It's through, I'm going to be honest, it's for like my husband's work trip. And so it's kind of like the kids can come along. So it's not like a total like vacation, but I mean, not for Drew. For the rest of us, it is, obviously. That's
going to be awesome.
It'll be fun anyway.
Yeah, you're going to love Hawaii. So. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Have you been there with kids before?
Yeah. So we went there last year when we went around, like literally around the world. We went from like Chicago to New York to like Singapore, around Asia, and then literally went around the world to Hawaii. And so we ended off the trip kind of in Hawaii and then back to Chicago. But it was like so cool because like my kids never been there and I have been there once before. So it's so beautiful and I'm sure your kids are going to love it because it's just so, it doesn't feel like Florida. It doesn't feel like California. It just feels like a different country. Honestly, you're going to love it.
I'm really excited about being there, but like the flight there is what I'm worried about with kids.
I know.
And like the sleeping, I don't know, like I just don't want overtired kids in Hawaii, but so many other people have done this before. I'm sure we will figure it out.
You'll figure it out, but it is harder to go out, I guess, east than it is west. So you'll be fine. Because when you're going to go the opposite way, you're going to be like, oh, shoot, we got to go to bed really early because you're going like 5 hours earlier than your usual bedtime. But over there, you're going to be like, party.
Yeah, that's right.
It'd be like,
and you will sleep in. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But nonetheless, you'll have a blast.
Awesome. Yeah, I think so too. I hope so. Well, thank you again, Val. That's a wrap. It's been such a delight to have you on the show today. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
You're welcome. Anytime. And I will see you on the road. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode and for being part of the RV Queens community. Remember to hit subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. And guess what? You can have conversations like I had on this episode with your fellow RV women who are living intentionally and making money on the road. Head to rvqueenspodcast.com/community to join RV Queen Circles today. It's a totally unique online space with a shared prosperity model that's all about community over competition. I'd love to have you be a part. All right, guys, I'll see you next week, or hopefully I will see you on the road. Peoples.